key, in other words. So the communication and being honest with the person, that honest and trustworthy was, I think those were the two factors right there. In other words, identifying who you are, what your end game is going to be. Then the person on the other line understands it as they go through the process, because everybody's got a why. You got a why, I got a why, and your investors will have a why. And so as a result, and you can hear me okay? Is it all right?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, so the why is that you are the priest of your home. So therefore that makes you number one. You are doing this because the family is leaning on you, regardless of what your wife does, the fact that you are the priest of the house. So therefore your why is to go out and actually, bring in the income if you can. In other words, be that person, that stronghold. And so you have a why because you're going to get a commission off of this. Your second why would be, why would you do it? Because you want to help somebody. That's the Christian thing to do. You know, the more you give, the more you receive. And you do it, you do it to a point where you understand that other person and they understand you. So it's almost like you're doing this tonight, your wife already knows it, okay? She understands where your time is. And so therefore, if they ever ask, well, where is he? I know exactly where he is. It's like being accountable to your children. You want to know that I trust you to take my car and go get gas if that's where you say you're going. You're not going over to somebody's house and making a detour. You're supposed to go to the gas station and you're supposed to come right back. So once you've done that enough times, now we've developed a trust. So maybe I'm going to let you drive my Lexus next time, but I'm not going to do that till I know that you can do just the simple things.
Okay.
All right.
Wow, that's powerful. I remember growing up, I used to live in Tidewater, Virginia for a while. And my high school years, we had a mall that was 5 minutes away from our house. And then we had another mall that was like 35 minutes.
Okay.
And the black mall was the one that was 35 minutes. So me and my boys, I would always take when my father let me, he would let me drive his car. And I said, yeah, Dad, I'm going to the mall. He thought I was going to Lynn Haven Mall. Just 5 minutes, but I would always go to the black. But my thing was, I told you I was going to the mall.
Well, see, you knew, and guess what? To be honest with you, now that you are married and have kids and a father yourself, you already know what your son is going to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he knew. But yeah,
and that's what makes it so hard for kids, because they get called all the time, and it's because you've been around that block before. Okay, so you already know when he's not back in 20 minutes, there's a problem. Okay, because again, how can you criticize him? It's like them three fingers. When you point your finger at somebody, you got three of them coming back at you.
That's right. So I'm waiting for the others to join, but until they get here, I want to talk business. So let's talk about how you have in your real estate investments. Have you connected with partners?
Not at this point. I'm in Myrtle Beach, and I used to live in Atlanta. I used to live in Connecticut, and let me just say that I moved from Connecticut and living there 10 years down to Atlanta because I had to get my blackness on. I just got to call it what it is. When they had a commercial, do you know where your kids are? I knew where my kids were because there was nothing to do in Connecticut. They pulled the sidewalks in at 8 o'clock. Okay. My son worked at the first McDonald's in our town. These people were picketed because they made a full service McDonald's. They didn't want a McDonald's. They didn't want a Walmart. They wanted it to be horse and buggy. All right.
I can't hear anything.
So they wanted to keep it like that. But, time moves on. They did what they called a McDonald's Express, and everything was microwave. Nothing was cooked. Okay. And these folks were pricking in that. But the guy got so successful with that Express because people beyond that, they were getting ice cream and things that were automatic. And so they moved on. Okay. But the point I'm making, he did about a mile away, build a full service McDonald's in spite of the situation. Okay. So what I'm saying is not taking that word no, and that's my adage, and it has been through my years of my life. I took the word no and turned it around to the word on. So when you tell me no, I just find another way of getting around that. I don't have to come through the front door, but I can come through a window. I can come through the back door. I can come through the chimney if I have to, but I can get in the house.
I like that no into on. That's good stuff. Hey, Damon, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
How you doing, Damon?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Oh, man, we on top of the ground. It's a blessing, sir.
Amen.
Hey, Damon is the first-time investor, Doc, and I'm glad he jumped on because you talked about with me on a number of occasions some of the investments that you've done in the past. And Damon, I'm just talking through some of the ideas that I have getting into the investment space, understanding partnerships and being able to communicate. But I want to dig in and talk to you, Doc, about analyzing deals. You said when you were in St. Louis or Memphis, you had purchased some properties. How did you go about analyzing that deal? Or just in general, if you've invested in more than one piece of real estate?
Oh, a lot.
How do you analyze that?
Okay. Well, first of all, I will say that I was running with some guys that were investors, and likeness has to stick together. Like-mindedness needs to be together because everybody doesn't understand this world. Okay. At any rate, they said, Doc, we want to meet you over at this particular address, and here we got somebody else coming. Hi.
Hey, this is Rohan Crawford. He's a IT professional here in Atlanta. He's diving into the investment space as well.
You're in the right place, but nonetheless, we found a foreclosed building from a doctor. I'm a dentist, guys, by the way. Anyway, this doctor had walked away from his practice, and anyway, so my investor friends brought me to that building and said, Doc, you can't pass this one up. And I was at the time working with another doctor. So it became quite not easy, but it was wonderful. Once I saw it, I said, yeah, I guess I can put this together. And it was a matter of going to the bank. And I'm sure you're going to talk about that because I see that as number one, getting your finances in order. Yeah, a lot of things, you have to have all of this put together to, and I'm not going to take away from your presentation.
No, Doc, listen, the reason why I wanted to bring you on, Doc, because you have the experience and the knowledge because you've done this. I've done a few deals as well, but this is a collaborative conversation. So, and being able to speak to the experience versus a PowerPoint, to me, is much more powerful. So go ahead, speak.
Okay, so I don't want to take any of your time, everybody's time. I just wanted to just say that how you approach that banker is how you get your end result, okay? And it's like anything else. You are going before, he that, the golden rule, he that holds the gold makes the rules. All right, so once you know that, and I assume that everybody is going to be black on this call, we got to understand that we got to be better than the other person. I will say this, that when I was in St. Louis and I was in practice with my husband, it was my job to write the proposal for SBA and to put the deal together. And I went to 6 banks in St. Louis and got turned down. I wrote the proposal. I thought it was a great proposal, but got turned down. But guess how I got my proposal? I sent it to the bank through the mail. I did not show my face. And the guy thought that I was of a majority person, okay? He just knew that we were. And when he saw my proposal, he says, I don't see any reason why this would not be a success. This is the best proposal I've ever seen. And I just laughed. I never showed up until he said I was approved. Okay. Now, that's one way of getting in the door. But the second thing is that you just got to have your I's dotted, your T's crossed, and you got to come in there professional. I've had people applying for jobs in a sweatsuit, and I'm saying, are you going or coming from your workout? No, I'm just coming to the interview. Well, you know, that resume went into file 13. Okay. Because I figured if you'd come to an interview in a sweatshirt, my God, what are you gonna do when I hire you at my front desk? Okay. So I'm gonna let you take on from that, but we can get into that a little bit deeper.
No, but I think today's hey Rohan, how you doing, buddy? I think today's conversation is paramount for you to be on because I wanted to really focus in on actually what it takes to invest in your first piece of real estate. And mainly, you know, my main focus has been trying to figure out different ways to creatively finance my deal. And so on the presentation, I just want to talk about some ways that you can creatively finance some of your real estate, your first real estate. And I put on the top 10 list here. And one of the ways that you can go about doing that is going through financing at a bank, right? They have interest only loans that you can actually go through where you're just paying the interest only until the balance is due. They have seller carrybacks where it's similar to owner financing where you work with the seller to put together a program and you and him work to figure out the nuances of the payment plan and the down payment so that you can start working to acquire that piece of property by paying the seller directly. If you have a second, hang on one second. Oh, it's all good, Rohan. You currently have a house, you can get a second mortgage to help with the acquisition of a piece of real estate. You can go through private mortgages or private lenders. And that's where you really get into the creative financing space because dealing with private entities, they allow you to have a lot more flexibility. Their contract stipulations and requirements may not be as stringent as you would have to if you went to a federal, if you went to a Bank of America or a Chase. But some of the other ways that you can creatively finance your first real estate deal is a lease option, where you actually lease the property and you acquire it. Then you get your financing in order while you're leasing the space out. You individually leasing it, as well as you leasing it to tenants, either commercial tenants or residential tenants. That way, that gives you the ability to acquire assets or funding before you get your financing to assist you with getting your financing. And then some of the other ones we covered last week when I talked about getting into your IRA and your retirement. And finally, if you have family or friends who have financing money that they can free up, you can actually ask them for those loans or grants. So what I consider, if I ever have to ask, if family members ask me for money, it's not a loan because I know I'm not gonna get it back. I'm just keeping them 100, right? So we talked about, and that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today, Rohan and Damon and Doc, with different ways of financing. And Doctor, you spoke to going to the bank. When you acquired most of your assets, your real estate assets, were they mainly going through the bank, or did you have the ability to use other resources?
The big thing is that when you go to the bank you've got it's going to be score driven, and it's because in 2008 when we had the real estate crash. Before they were doing no doc loans, where that's during a time when people had easy peasy financing, and they gave bad loans out. When I say bad loans, the banks did bad loans to people that bought houses they couldn't afford. Okay. And so they were saying a no doc loan was no documents. You didn't have to prove your income. You just had to say, okay, I got money I'm gonna show a bank statement and I'm gonna be able to get in this house. And so the banks knew that. They were letting people come in knowing good and well they couldn't afford that. And then when the crash came, the real estate crash, the banks went under. And it took, this was almost during Obama administration, when they had to pull GM and the banks out and things like that. So the bank is good. Your money, the money is FDIC, but because of how we are looked upon as African Americans, you better have your shoes shine. That's the only thing. Everything has to be in order. And with you being a first-time investor is not going to be as easy as if you went through private money lending, okay? Because now it would be based on the asset. In other words, the asset is you buying a house that you buy it for 100,000, and when you fix it up with a little lipstick on it and dress it up a little bit with some rehab, now it's worth 250. And that's what the bank, not necessarily the bank, but investors, private money lenders, they're looking at the asset and not at your credit. They understand that you're a first-time investor. You don't have a track record of the history of real estate. So they got in a big problem in 2008 because they made bad loans. So now they're making it a little harder and harder, particularly when you're an investor. If you were to buy a house, and I don't know where it is now, maybe you can help us, but I think now they're asking for 20% down. It used to be as little as 5% or 10%. Now these banks are asking for 20% down. And that's pretty much a hard egg to crack. Let's put it like that. Because not only do you have the 20% down, you've got your closing costs. And so the closing costs can be at least 10% of the deal. So you've got to come with some money. And that gets to be a problem. Whereas the other way that we were talking about with private investors, they're not gonna challenge you as much. And the reason for it is because they're looking at the asset. They're looking at, if you don't make this payment, I've got an asset that I can grab and still make money off of it.
Okay. Now, since I got you on the horn, Rohan and Damon, can you guys introduce yourself to the good doctor? Just tell them who you are and where you're from and things like that.
Yeah, I'm Damon Tolden. I'm originally from California, but I live here in Atlanta. I'm a first-time home investor. Actually, I sold a property last year, and I'm looking to find other ways to get another one to keep that ball rolling.
Okay, very good. What part of California, hon?
Oakland.
Oakland, Northern California. Good.
Yep.
My son's in San Diego. That's why I'm
saying. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got childhood friends that moved to San Diego, raised family down there now.
Yeah. Oakland's all right. Except they lost the Raiders. I don't understand that, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Money talks and everything else walks. You understand that, right?
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
They built them a brand new stadium, so I understand.
Yeah.
What's going on, David? Where are you from, darling?
Rohan.
No, I got Rohan. That was Damon I was talking to.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Rohan, again, grew up in New York, Brooklyn area specifically. I lived in Queens for a little bit before I moved to Atlanta. So I own a property, but right now I'm looking to explore potentially into some investing. I might do some things with my father actually, because he lives in Florida. So just looking to see if what I can do also in Atlanta and also even potentially even back home in New York.
Okay, where's your dad in Florida? What part?
He's in Melbourne.
Okay, there's so many properties down there. Wow, Florida got a lot of real estate.
That's what he's been telling me.
So I think that would be a good move. Can I ask you two gentlemen, are you looking to, what is your exit strategy? That's something I'm sure that we're gonna talk about tonight, I would think. Am I right, sir?
Yeah,
no, this is just a 30-minute conversation. We have this.
I didn't know that, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm having this every Thursday, so it's going to grow in people and probably grow in time.
Okay, let me let you get through your presentation.
No. Go ahead, because I think this is important to talk about that piece.
Okay, let me just talk about it. It's very important that you look at your exit strategy. In other words, when you buy a property, is it a property that I'm gonna hold on to, or am I gonna flip? And if it is, what is the neighborhood gonna do? What kind of equity do I have in it? And right now, the golden rule is to put tenants in here if you can get them, okay? because again, that gets to be a situation. So I just wanted to just make sure that as you invest and you look at properties, think in terms of what your exit strategy will be.
I can answer that right now. Initially, it is going to be to buy some properties and flip it. One of my father's good friends, that's all he does is real estate. He started off that way. He actually moved into where he had some properties. We had some tenants. The last time I spoke to him, he actually converted his properties into Airbnbs. So he's just getting his money off of that right now. But he advised me a few years ago, at least in the beginning, when I explored this, to go into flipping and then go from there at that point.
Okay. So you want to rehab? Do you want to wholesale or do you want to rehab and flip?
Rehab, then flip.
Okay.
What about you, Damon?
Wholesaling and some lease options, and my first one was a fix and flip, and I want to get back into fix and flip. But I think at this point, until I get my financing together, I'm going to focus on lease option and wholesaling.
Okay. That's
And
very good.
and me, Doc, I'm looking at the off-market deals, the wholesaling space where you and I are currently working.
Right.
Also looking at acquisitions, right? I want to develop a portfolio of properties, not only in the US, but I have a couple of states. I have a couple of countries that I'm interested in, the Dominican Republic, or Ghana, and other parts of Africa. So that's my main focus. What I want to try to do is develop a portfolio of properties that will allow me to establish generational wealth so that the next generation can grow and develop off top of what I've established. Now, let me ask you this in regards to exit strategy. Are you talking about per project, like each acquisition, what's your exit strategy, or do you mean overall?
No, your exit strategy should be in every property. That's why when you have a due diligence, I don't know if you've gone that far with your company talking about due diligence, but you always build in due diligence clauses in all your contract because that's your exit strategy. If you get into a property and you find out, and I see you got number 4 over leverage, you find that there's a problem. I did that in a St. Louis property. I was going to turn it into an Airbnb. It was downtown St. Louis. And it was walking distance from the Cardinal Stadium and all of that. And I was really gung-ho with this house because I just knew it was going to be a perfect Airbnb. I got a contract to rehab that at $140-something thousand. I could tear it down and build it back for 140, and it was all exterior for the most part. I was like, good gravy. I'm serious. It was at least 140, 120 of just exterior that I didn't know anything about. The lady had just let this house go to pot. Even the back deck was going to have to, the foundation was wrong. The porch was going to have to be rebuilt. That was my exit strategy. So if you didn't put in adequate due diligence as your exit strategy, I would have been stuck with that house. And I'd be upside down right now.
So do you have a nice portfolio of real estate currently?
Let's just say I'm rebuilding. I sold a lot and I'm rebuilding now.
Okay. All right. So just before we close out, one, I just wanted to make sure that the main purpose of this conversation is to talk about ways that we can start thinking about the first project that you're working on, right? If it's a fix and flip, if it's a buy and hold, different ways to, the main thing that I'm seeing a lot of my clients have issues with is getting how to acquire that property, right? We talked about a couple of different ways in financing with lease options and going through the bank and creative financing, but I want you to start putting on paper how you can figure out when that timetable is so you guys can start acquiring that property, because we don't need to be sitting on the sidelines, right? You're gonna take some hits and some losses in the beginning, but as Denzel said in one of his speeches, when you fail fast and fail often, so that 2 or 3 years from now, those lessons learned will allow you to have acquired a lot of knowledge, right? So As I close out, do you guys have any questions in regards to financing, Rohan or Damon, or for myself? And if the doc is open to answering questions, do you have any questions for her?
I'll say nothing right off the bat. I mean, I'm sure you're going to send me some of this information about some of the financing, options as far as even what is, just in general. I'm not sure if there's a preferred approach, especially if you're going to do fixing and flipping. But again, it depends on the person who's going to be doing the investing. I think it varies, I'm sure, depending on their finances, I'm sure. So,
There are different options. You just have to look at your own particular situation and figure out how much financing you have in place and what you can do with that in order to acquire your first piece of property. Doc, do you have any thoughts on that?
I just want to be able to let Damon speak as well. I just wanted to say I'm a private money lender, and I just wanted to tell them what they were looking for. I want you to be able to stack some money, because you've got to come up with this. Possibly now the hard money lenders are asking for 20%. They weren't, but they are. The big issue is if you can get either on a credit card or whatever you can do, just get you some money so that you can get that 20%. 20% is the golden key. I can get you 100%. If you can come up with the 20%, I can get you 100% on your rehab, because I think that's what Rohan said he wanted to do. Damien, I think that's what you said. You said you want to do rehab. So if we're going to do rehab, that rehab is very important. I'm not going to get into what you got to do. You just got to make sure you got connections with a good contractor. Okay. Now I can take you through that process. I can get you financed. And guess what? It's not about your credit. Everybody talks about building your credit. You need credit if you're going to the bank. If you're going to deal with private people, they're dealing with the asset, but they got to have that 20%. Okay. So, I mean, maybe you can buy, because we were talking about it today, buy a smaller house that you got your 20%, even if you put it on your credit card and turn it, and you can turn this bad boy into a Section 8. Section 8 brings you some good money, guaranteed every first of the month. Okay. I mean, it doesn't have to be your dream home, but it's all about stacking cash. That makes sense. And then once you got that, then it's all a stepping stone. The baby doesn't come out of the womb running track. The baby has to grow into this. So we may have to take baby steps to get to the point where we are, but it's not going to take you long. And I just want to end, and I'm not going to say any more because I got to hear from Damon. The big issue is this is the biggest opportunity right now. 2021 is your goal. Once this moratorium comes off of these landlords and the rentals and the mortgage, it's going to be a ton of foreclosures out there. You better grab it now. Grab it now, because we're not going to see it again. You know, that kind of goes like this. The last crash was in 2008. We're in 2021. We're not going to see it again for another maybe 10 years. The opportunities that are out here now. So what Damon said, he said he was going to try to get some money. Sweetheart, I want you to try to go through any outlets you can, because this is the time to seize the moment. This is going to be something that you won't. Millionaires are made in depressions. This is a time that you can pull yourself out. And by this time next year, you teaching this class.
Okay.
Hey, Doc, let me ask you this. If you have a property that has equity, you still need to have that 20%.
What, you want to draw your 20% out of the equity of a piece of real estate?
Yeah, so I'm working with an investor, and he's asking me to find him properties that have a lot of equity, excessive equity in the property, which will allow him to have that equity piece to get access to those funds once the property is acquired. That, in that scenario, would you still need to bring that 20% to the table?
Yeah, you got to just have that. These guys deal with cash and carry, you know, and you know, that money has to be on the table. We have to have proof of that it's there. It can't be that it's going to be borrowed and it's coming down the pipe. You know, when you get this, you have to show that you got this money. Okay, so what I was saying is do whatever you got to do, whether you flip a house or wholesale, but stack the money so you get your 20% and we'll get you the funds that you need. But like I said, I got a ton of what they call hard money lenders, and the lenders are out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
They understand real estate. They know that this is you're a young brother trying to get in the door, and they're willing to help you. But again, because everybody got burned in 208, that relaxed themselves. I have a big picture I can show y'all next week of me and Ali, and Ali was pretty. Me and him, we're face to face.
Wait, you mean Muhammad Ali, the boxer?
Yes, by Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
And I'll shoot you that picture.
Okay.
But the big issue is you ain't gonna get in the face if you're not gonna get hit in your face as long as you got your hands up. So that's all I'm saying. Keep your hands up. Don't let nobody hit you in your face. Okay. And that's the main thing. And stay pretty. Okay.
All right.
A couple of things I want to just cover before we drop off, because, you know, as first-time investors, you know, I think it's important for us to know that these are the things that we need to look at. A couple of things. I'll shoot this over to you guys when we finish the call. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, start looking at properties that are in emerging neighborhoods. Remember, I don't know if Damon, I spoke to you about it, but I don't know if you came to visit Rohan, but there a couple of years back, I was doing some volunteer work in a community called Pittsburgh, and I think you remember, and so that's an emerging community, right? There's gentrification going on over there. And there's a time when you can get properties for $10,000 to $15,000. 2021, can't get a property, you can't get a distressed property over there under $100,000.
Wow.
Right? They're going for. I have one of the last ones over there that I'm working with the seller on right now. He only wants 80, 85. And the only reason why he has to sell because he's having tax issues, right? Properties over there now are listing at a minimum of 250, right?
Can you give me that zip code? Do you have it?
Yes,
You know
30310.
I got some property already. I'm gonna let you know where they are. Go ahead.
Okay.
Zip code.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think about, you know, in addition to looking at real estate, diversify your investments. We mentioned that earlier. Do not over rehab or over leverage yourself. To get started in some of these properties as investors, single family rentals. Doc mentioned that earlier, being able to Section 8 those out. That's guaranteed income. Just keep in mind the one thing that you have to remember with the Section 8 are making sure that you maintain the properties once the renters leave. A lot of times, one of the main issues I'm seeing with clients who have Section 8 properties is maintaining them, keeping them up to date, so to speak. A lot of them get ran down. When people rent, they're a different mindset than when you own.
That's right.
Remember, do your homework before you dive in. I don't want you to sit on the sidelines and making sure everything is tight. Everything ain't gonna be tight, right? Get it to the best of your ability and then get out there and make it happen, right? One of the things I'm looking at, Dr. Frida, Chet, who just joined, you know, I'm looking at having people who've done this before as mentors, right? I can ask them questions and get ideas and solutions from them, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel, right? If they've already done the things that I'm trying to do, why not learn from them, right? You know, and Chet, did you want to introduce yourself to the group? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, good evening.
Hi, Chet.
Hey, how are you doing? I am
All right.
so sorry.
See, I like to be the rose among all these thorns. Happy Valentine's Day. This is a Valentine's present to me. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm truly humbled because let's face it, in order to do anything, and I always say this, is first of all, I feel very blessed. I know where my blessings come from. They come from Most High God. So I'm truly humbled in all that I have done, because I promise you, something I've always said to my clients, that if you want to go into business, you need to be able to walk on water. And so you got to have unsurmountable faith and tenacity and never give up. And I just closed on a deal that took about 10 to 12 months. I've had projects that have left me and that have come back to me. There are some deals that you may not get investors to get involved in because people don't see things like you see it. And that does not mean that it's wrong, and that does not spell disaster or failure. Sometimes when you see a thing and nobody else sees it, that just may mean that you're on the cutting edge of it. So forge ahead. I think that real estate is one of the few things that even if you make a mistake, give it some time, and even the mistake that you made will convert itself into equity. At some point, it will be profitable.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's something that I have known to be true. As a matter of fact, I've gone back and looked over the portfolio of experiences that I have had in the way that I built houses and sold them. And I can't tell you how many times I've looked at a product and said, boy, I should have kept that. I shouldn't have sold
You were
it.
just telling me about that West End property a couple of days ago.
Wow. I did. I shouldn't have sold it. But and I can't tell you how many times I have bought property with no money down, how many times I've structured deals, just about every way that you can think of through owner financing. A lot of times a good team made up of cohesion, trust, and faith, and having an ear to listen and a willingness to work through problems, because a lot of the success it comes with problems, and sometimes problems creates the opportunity for innovation and adding value. Because in real estate, if you add value, the market and the third parties, they have to see that, and it can turn the corner. And when the market sees it converts into desire to convert that property to be theirs. One of the things I always tried to do, there was two types of investors. There was the investor that wanted to put as little money into his product as possible. And both for different philosophies. And then there's the investor that wants to create something so unique that when somebody sets their foot on their door, that a person says, I have got to have this. I looked at the property that sold for $135 million down in Florida. And I don't know if you all heard about it, but the Russian oligarch purchased that property. And I have to believe that it was so laid out that he had the money to buy it, and he just had to have it. And when you look back through it, for 135 million or whatever, it was 11,000 square feet. So that's roughly a little over 10 million per 1,000 square feet.
Wow.
Now, I am a developer and a builder, and I flip property, and I bought land. So I want to know, if you give me $135 million, believe me, I'm going to give you a lot of wow. and 11,000 square feet. It's only so much you can do. But at that point, the value becomes what you believe it is to you, and its uniqueness and all of these other things that it had that made that guy have desires. When they said when he stepped foot in there, within 24 hours, it was under contract.
Mm.
So, but still, there are two types of investors. There's the type that will put as little in as they can, and you can sell a raggedy piece of property and make a profit, and you can sell a stellar piece of property and make a profit. So, it just depends on who your market is and what your network is, and what you are educating your network to see as the result and see as the profitability in their portfolio. So, all of your markets have to be educated either one way or the other. And that's who you speak to when you're delivering properties to a group, whether it be wholesale or whether it be retail. I've always been from the adage, I try to leave at least 10 or 20% in there, or 10% in for the end buyer, wherever they're going to wind up. Because if I buy a piece of property, I want to be able to sell it wholesale and make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want the upside to be so huge by adding value that at anywhere along the lines, if the market reverses or anything adjusts, that I'll still be profitable in a wholesale position. If I can take it on to the retail position and through those processes, fine. If I don't, I still want to win at the end of the day. And I don't put my investors in a position to lose. My primary concern is to make sure that they win. And most of the time when I'm in a project or in a deal, I'm conservative, so they usually win astronomically. And I'm pretty consistent with that.
Okay, so let me ask you, Chet, and yes, where did you? One of the things that I think is important is having a network or a team. Is it trial and error? Where do you get your real estate attorney, your appraiser, your home inspector, your finance specialist, your title company? Where do these come from so that you can acquire that team, that dream team, so that as you go on that first project, it's not seamless, but you don't have to be the jack of all trades, right? You can give the expert to the pie, and then they can finish it off for you. Where do you get those experts from?
Well,
go ahead, Jeff.
What I started doing was I started doing deals with different financiers and different banks. And hard money, they require their own appraiser. And right now, today, they still continue to require their own appraisers. They may require their own surveyors, or they have an approved list of surveyors. And I started communication with whoever the bank is dealing with. And I generally want to have a conversation with those guys to make them my own. If I don't know them already, in a lot of cases, when I see who they have, I may have done business with them in the past, or I may have done business with one of their partners. In the legal area, I look at people who've closed, but some of the best closing attorneys are attorneys that I've had a relationship with. I remember Weissman, Curry, and Nowak, Linda Curry, and I were, we had known each other over the years and we were friends. And she happened to be connected with a major law firm. And we weren't talking about her doing the closings, but when I wanted to do condo conversions, they were number one in the arena. I've even dealt with Morris Manning and Martin. I've dealt with Michael Brockstein, a lot of different attorneys, Raskins, are people that I've dealt with, and some attorneys have invested in my deals. So, I found them and I established a relationship with them. I've had conversations with them about the structure of my deals to make sure that everything's okay. And I was very transparent, and transparency and full disclosure in real estate were the things that kept me from going to jail when other people were going to jail. And communicating very straightforward and telling the truth and letting an attorney tell me, hey, you can't do that this way. This may be the way that you have to do that. So, and sometimes you may not get the results that you're looking for because some attorneys may block you, and then you have to be able to take your deal somewhere else. Some of them may block you, some of them may seem like they're on your team, or some of them is going to educate you. But most of the attorneys out here, Adams, a lot of these guys, I've done business with them. I've known them for 20 or 30 years. Some of the guys that have closed their doors, and some of the new guys that are opening their doors, I know people that they've done business with. And that's, it's just a long cycle of picking up business cards and grabbing those guys, taking them to the side and asking them for their information on and their strategies on going about doing this, and they'll be very helpful. And taking them in and paying up front. If you want something done, like you want titles ran, just go and say, hey, I want to get you guys to do my titles on this. Would it be okay? Who do I contact to tell you who their post closer is? So meeting their post closers in the office, and understanding how to establish rapport. And because in this business, if you don't have a network, an attorney can make or break your deal. They can lengthen the sales cycle so that a seller who wants to close quickly may give you time, and or they can tell that seller you're a piece of crap and it's not going to work out and kill your deal. It could work either way, and it's based on the rapport that you have with the attorney. And the situation is, you may be at a point where you don't have a cent, but because the attorney knows what your experience is and knows what your posture has been in the past on other projects, they may give you the opportunity to go out and raise the additional capital you need if you're short, or if things are not going the way that you thought that they would, so that you are able to go ahead and get your deal closed. So establishing rapport, giving them side work are the ways that you reach into their heart, and they may be the ones to call up somebody and make them close a deal with you. They may be the one to come up with the money. They may be the ones. So,
what about you, Doc?
Okay, I just wanted to say that there's no I in the word team. Okay.
Right.
And so it's very important, just like Chet was saying, that you establish that team. But I do want to say, for a lot of the new guys, the big thing is that you could go to a RIA meeting, and I know Atlanta has several. A RIA is Real Estate Investment, I guess, Association. So what they do is they've already tried and tested a lot of the attorneys, the appraisers, and anybody that has to do anything with real estate. They will have that, and you can try it for yourself, but at least they know exactly what your posture is at this point, so that you don't get skid marks here and get burned on anything, because it's a whole group, and they know that you're gonna come back and report it to the group if they're not treated right. So I would look up Atlanta's RIA, and there are several in the area, and you'll get a wealth of information and contacts. And of course, have your business card so that you can network. You can get financing. There'll be people that have financing opportunities. You'll get to hear about deals where somebody says there's a burnout landlord or something, or there's a house I need to sell and I'll owner finance. You'll be able to pick up deals at the RIA meeting. So it's a wealth of information that you can probably get on, and it's free. Well, I don't know if it's free in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's
No,
free.
it's
A
not
couple
free.
of the RIAs that I know that are ran by people that look like us, they're free.
You know,
No,
So-
but the major Georgia RIA, the one that has the national and the local that meets on the second Tuesday, I get emails from them all the time, and you have to pay to join. They'll let you in an initial meeting. I think no, you got to pay $25 or $20 if you're non-member, and then as you become a member, then you can continue to go in. I've flipped many a deal in there. I've met a lot of lenders in the RIA. You know, it's a very good eye opener for newbies. But I always say take an experienced guy along with you, so that nobody in that circle takes advantage of your lack of experience, because that has happened, and they try to stop that from happening. But of course, you know, but they provide a lot of education, and they're good about maintaining properties, and very good list of lenders to move things forward in the organization.
Okay, now I know that Facebook has a RIA group for Atlanta. That's really good. I've done a deal or two with the leader of that group. That one's free, and I know that Meetup has a couple of REA groups that are free as well. But I think the main one, like Chet has said, does charge. Now, thank you guys for staying online. Before we go, did you want to drop any pearls or any questions over to Chet or Dr. Frida, Rohan, or Damon?
Not at the moment. I'm good. Thank you, though.
If not, before we go, because these guys are new to the investment space, can you give them a tip or two what they can do moving out of tonight's meeting to get rolling? Frida or Chet?
My thing is, and I see it on here, that we want to start small. You can start small. You start looking at your, I tell you what else you can do. You can start looking at owner finance. Just you got to check all the boxes. You may have to go to Craigslist or whatever, and see exactly what properties are available and what it's going to take to get at them. And then once and I would check with someone in your area to make sure that it's a legitimate situation. There are no liens on the property, so that you don't get burned with anything. And if you're able to lease option, or if you could turn a rental into an Airbnb, especially, in other words, you can take the Airbnb model is that you rent somebody's place, but you let the landlord know that you're going to turn it into an Airbnb, because especially if it's furnished, and that way that first tenant, you're actually paying the rent up front. And then everything else that you're able to put in that property, that's all your hip pocket National Bank money.
Okay.
Well, I would say, I don't know what your credit profile looks like, and I'm not sure as to whether, and it doesn't matter, or you may have a partner who has credit. Usually a partner can have credit and the other person have money, or vice versa, or somebody has both. But I would suggest getting with a lender, get pre-qualified, and get pre-qualified so you can pull the trigger on a property and establish some players that want to do business with you or that want to team with you. And you have the resource of back room that are your go-to. But get some property under contract. And if you don't have people in your network who can joint venture with you, then you have a group in Fitzgerald and Dr. Rohan and myself, who would certainly, as a team group, would be willing to joint venture with you. So you have strength. So that should build your confidence up to go and just try to identify a deal and just keep doing it and do an analysis on it until we find one that's going to work and it's going to be profitable. Because once you find a deal, then you can attract purchasers. If you're going to do a flip, if you're going to buy and hold, that's another situation. But I think that you need to get your feet wet in all of them, in cash flow properties, buying whole properties, properties that you're getting rid of, apartment complex. Just don't be afraid, because you have stepped into a team that no matter what you want to do, we have the resources to assist you in being successful.
That's right.
Get something under contract.
Well, with that said, just let me just say this, and I'll let you guys go. I think, having been in corporate America, educated through PWIs as well as HBCUs, mindset is going to is going to allow us to level up, changing how we think and transforming, the mindset of, we're not employees now, we're employers, right? We're partnering with other people. So we have to be creative in how we think to get solutions solved. So I want, Damon, Rohan, think about, thinking outside of the box, because the way that real estate is done, a lot of these things are just essentially being problem solvers, right? Mm-hmm. Getting to the closing table, because, each step of the way, something might pop up. And instead of walking away from it and starting over, you just have to solve that problem. So just think about it as, being a solution-minded person. Rohan, I know you from, the days that we were in the IT space together. It's all it is solving problems, brother. That's it. So thank you guys. Thank you, Dr. Frida and Chet, for jumping on. We're going to have this next Thursday. I think next Thursday, I'm going to talk about physically getting into talking about analyzing a deal, and maybe even talking about different ways to raise capital. So if nobody else has anything else, I bid you all adieu to next Thursday.
Well, I got something. When you said that, I'd like to add one more thing. Since
sure.
You said, solving a problem, Rohan, Damon, I think it would be good if you, and this could come up, find somebody who's losing their property.
Mm-hmm.
Find a number of people who are getting ready to lose their property, because I know how to stop a foreclosure and convert it create a short sale.
Mm-hmm.
So that's instant equity right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be instant control of the property. Find somebody
Okay.
who's in trouble and provide help. So you got a team who can help. I'm an expert in stopping foreclosure. It's not a
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Good to know.
And also we call it driving for dollars. As you ride through these neighborhoods and you find that the grass, even though it's winter, but the grass is high and things look pretty much abandoned, you can look that property up and possibly it may be an out of town investor that has a vacant property. Vacant properties are gold mines. Okay. We have ways of being and software that we can find that owner. And we call it skip tracing. We're able to find them and possibly they're in an upside down situation. Maybe they were affected by unemployment or whatever on this COVID stuff. And they're ready to get rid of the property. That might be your golden nugget right there.
All right.
And as a cold caller to a lot of these people, man, it's amazing what happens when they get on the phone with you, right? You think that they don't want to have that conversation, but they do, because they want somebody to solve that problem.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. Thank you guys, man. And I'll be sending out some of the things we talked about today, Rohan and Damon. We're probably going to have a few more people on next week. But with that said, thanks for coming. And thank you, Dr. Frieda and Chet, for jumping on.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Bishop, when you get a chance, can you give me a call, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All
All
right.
right. Y'all have a good night.
All right.
Thank
Go
you,
on.
guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Anytime.